John Russell Fearn, John Carter of Mars inspired British vintage paperback series, the Clay Drew series of 4 books. Hi, I'm Gary Levisi, and we're going to look at something really kind of unique this time. The 4-book series in the Clay Drew saga by John Russell Fearn. They were published by Hamilton's, British paperback company in 1950, and they were published in response to the overwhelming success of the Edgar Rice Burroughs books that were published by Pinnacle Books and other companies in England at the time, and were popular in the United States. So Edgar Rice Burroughs, John Carter books, and other Burroughs action, adventure, science fiction, pulp adventure were very popular, and the Hamiltons looked around. They went to see which author would be the best to do this series, and they came upon John Russell Fearn. Fearn was an interesting fellow. He was a very dexterous writer. He wrote in many genres, crime, science fiction, everything. And he was also very popular in the United States. He published in the Pulp magazines in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, and had many books published in England under different names. He's one of the persons under the Margot Staten pseudonym, and just so many others. He was a workhorse writer who could write anything, and he did these in the imitation of Edgar Rice Burroughs' style, doing his John Carter of Mars, which was Clay Drew of Mars. And here's the books now, the first 4, the 4 books in the series that were published by Hamilton's in 1950. They were really beautiful. I don't know who did the cover art. The first book is Emperor of Mars, and let's see, these are quite scarce copies. They're printed on thick paper. Here's the list of series. Second book is Warrior of Mars. Again, they're very delicato, these books. Mine are really nice condition, but they're still delicate. Got to be careful. Red Men of Mars. And a little bit about the story. And the fourth and final book in this 4-book series was Goddess of Mars. And the back covers, like on a lot of the British books of this era, are nothing to write home about because they just have ads. It's a funny thing that they didn't have that in the American paperbacks, except they might have ads for other books, but never for like tobacco products or other things like that. But these are the 4 Clay Drew series. Really exciting, wonderful books. They're very inspired by Edgar Rice Burroughs' John Carter of Mars, and they're from 1950, and they're quite rare, actually, quite scarce in nice condition. What happened, though, in 1995, 45 years later, when I got a set of these, I was able to reprint them in the first 4 books in my Gryphon Books Science Fiction Rediscovery series. So I like to show you those now. Kind of put these on the side here for a moment. There's the spines of them. They make a nice set. But also what makes a nice set are the Gryphon Books series from 1995. And I published them in trade paperback, and they were originally $15. They had brand new cover art by Ron Turner, who was one of the leading British science fiction artists, cover artists of the 1950s. And the books, my editions, were in dust jacket, and dust jacket comes comes off and it shows you the black and white of the original cover. Of course, it's a big difference. In those days, 1995, 25 years ago, quarter of a century, color printing was very expensive, and I was not able to really print these books with cardstock thick covers in color. So I had to figure out a way. I wanted to do the covers in color, but I had to figure out a way how to do it. And the dust jacket was the best way to do it. And this is the first book, Emperor of Mars, 1995. I published all 5 of these all 4 of these at the same time. And Phil Harbottle, who was the executor to the John Russell Fearn estate and the agent for Fearn and other writers in England, was instrumental in helping me begin this series. Here's the Ron Turner art for the first book. And so that was the first book in the series. These first 4 books started my Gryphon Science Fiction Rediscovery series. That series lasted about 62 books. 31 of them were John Russell Fearn's Golden Amazon books. So I published all the books in that series, and also books by other people, Jack Williamson, E.C. Tubb, Don Wilcox, and many other classic science fiction writers. So this is the impetus and the beginning of the Science Fiction Rediscovery series by Gryphon Books. It's the Gryphon Books, my Gryphon Books logo. And then we had the Clay Drew series 1, 2, 3, and 4. The British books were never numbered, but this puts them in the proper order. Phil Harbottle's introduction in each one of the books puts the series into perspective. Here's the second book. And again, the dust jacket. And again, you can see that the original is quite nice, But again, I didn't have the cover art. We didn't use this artwork because I was able to commission 4 brand new wonderful paintings by Ron Turner for this series. And Ron Turner did a lot of the book covers for the Science Fiction Rediscovery series. He's an incredible artist, incredible pulp artist. Did a lot of comic book work, and you can see that this is comic book inspired, or a type of comic book work, and great book. That was the second book. The third book is The Red Men of Mars. Again, in the tradition of Edgar Rice Burroughs, in the tradition of John Carter of Mars, and third book. And you see the cover for that. Too bad I didn't have the wherewithal and the technology at the time, a quarter of a century ago in 1995, to do that color printing with the with the cost involved, because the cost was what really changed it. So this is the Ron Turner, beautiful Ron Turner, wild cover art. This is the title page. And this is Ron's. He did an illustration along with the cover art for each book. They really made these something special. Back covers talk about each of the books. And they're all out of print now, but you can find them on eBay or ABE, different places every once in a while. The Gryphon books you can find. The Hamiltons are pretty incredible, hard to find. And the fourth book is Goddess of Mars. And that's the title page. The cover art on the book, kind of nice. It was nice to put the original art on on the books. And I think they're a really attractive set. Is the Ron Turner illustration for this book. And again, they're really nice, a nice set. The Gryphon books set again started the science fiction rediscovery series, and it ran 62 books, including all 31 of the Golden Amazon books, including some later books that were original novels published for the Golden Amazon series by John Glaspie, so that they continued Fearn's character. He continued Fearn's character in 3 or 4 books. The Gryphon Science Fiction Rediscovery series is, unfortunately, a lot of the books were lost in Hurricane Sandy, so some of them are going to be quite scarce to find. So collectors in the future may be having some trouble to dig around for some of these. I had to, it was hard for me to find my own copies, and I'm happy that I did, so that I could kind of show you this kind of unique look at different, 2 different series from 1995 and the series from 1950. I mean, these are just beautiful, rare, collectible books. Great fun, and Fearn did a great job trying to create a John Carter type of series, and he was a very talented writer, very ambidextrous as far as writing style, different styles and different genres. He was able to combine genres. Did a lot of incredible work. Definitely underrated science fiction author who was very popular in the United States in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, and was under contract specifically to some publishers in the UK to write just books for them. That's how important he was, and that's how valued they thought of him as a science fiction writer and as a crime writer. So just wanted to show you these 2 versions of the Clay Drew series. You might not have ever seen either of them, because the 1950s 4 books from Hamilton's are really scarce and impossible to find, and they just never come up, especially in nice condition. And the Gryphon book series that I did in '95, again, it was a small press. I was a small press publisher. I published books in the hundreds, you know, a couple of hundred copies or so, so they weren't widely distributed. A lot of people didn't know about them and stuff. So just to let you know, it was fun. It was a fun time to be able to start the Gryphon Science Fiction Rediscovery series with these 4 books. Phil Harbottle himself came to visit me in New York, in Brooklyn, in 1995, and I handed him personally the first 4 books in the science fiction series, and all 4 books of the Clay Drew series, and we had a grand old time. And since then, we had a good relationship with him furnishing different rare and obscure science fiction, crime, and horror books from the British publishers in the 40s and 50s, and my own finding stuff from American publishers from the Pulp magazines that went into various Gryphon book series. So just to let you know, just thought you'd like to see these 2 series and find out a little bit about these books. They're good action adventure, pulp, science fiction. They're great fun, and they stand up pretty well with Edgar Rice Burroughs. Fearn was a very talented writer. So with that, I just wanted to let you, let you know that I hope you enjoyed this look at these Clay Drew series by John Russell Fearn. And if you did, give us a thumbs up and a like, and subscribe to this channel, and we'll bring you more interesting, obscure, and cool stuff. Thank you.